I look at you as a customer. Okay? So whatever you want, I do it.
So when you said yes to this interview, I got reminded of these scientists who camp in Antarctica, where they drill a hole really, really deep down, and then they take it out, and then there are layers, and they study those layers and look at the history of, the planet. So I see you as that sample.
Well, I'm old.
But we are not going to dwell on the past as much.
Okay.
We will go forward, and we'll see what you are looking forward to in the future with regard to tech and stuff. But just out of curiosity, I just wanted to have one question about your past, about your childhood. What influences and what major influences and experiences did the child go through so we get a Sam Pitroda?
Well, I was born and raised in a small little tribal village in Orissa. My father had 4th grade education. I come from a family of carpenters. My father went from Gujarat to Orissa looking for work in 1930s. I was born in British Raj in 1942. And those were the early days of India's independence. So the tempo and the mood in the country was very different. As a little boy growing up in this poor house, we had 5 big pictures in the house on the wall. Mahatma Gandhi, Nehru, Sardar Patel, Maulana Azad, and Subhash Chandra Bose. So as a little kid growing up, we looked at those pictures as sort of the role models. There were no schools in the village I was born. So we did a lot of homeschooling. And then when India got independence in 47, like millions of others, my father and mother felt empowered. That now our children can go to English schools. We are liberated. That tempo in the country was very different. So then my parents decided to send me and my older brother, who is about 2.5 years older than I am, to a boarding school in Gujarat. And that boarding school was basically Gandhian. Get up early morning at 5 o'clock, little kid, I was 10-year-old. Do your own dishes, get a little milk and whatever, and then you exercise and you do this and you do that, and regimentation. So early in life, we learned discipline. Yeah. As a young kid, you had no idea of all these things. My mother used to cry that my kids have gone so far away. And we could come home only twice a year. Okay. The train ride used to take 4 days.
And throughout the year, there was no communication with her at all?
No phone, nothing. Okay. That idea of communication with your family didn't even enter our mindset. Saying you meet them when you go back during, Diwali holidays and summer holidays. So we used to take a train from Titlagarh to Raipur to Nagpur to Bhusawal to Surat to Baroda to Anand, and then take a bus from Anand to Vidyanagar, which was close to Sardar Patel's village. So at early age, beside discipline, we understood the value of truth, trust. Our parents trusted us. 1,000 miles away, little kids, that they will do okay. And I remember when I was young, I was given 30 rupees and I lost it someplace. And I tell you, the pain at that time of losing 30 rupees was, this is the end of life. You might as well kill yourself. You lost 30 rupees.
30 at that time would have been a lot of money.
Exactly. So we learn by osmosis truth, trust, love, because everybody is different on campus, in school. So you got to love everybody. There are all kinds of people there. Some little kid is smoking. Okay. Some little kid is, naughty. Okay. And you begin to understand that everybody is different. So you learn inclusion. You learn diversity. Okay. And without knowing, you really understood Gandhi. It became part of your life. So discipline, honesty, moral, truth, love, that we all talk about today, we were not taught. It just happened.
When your parents sent you out, they must have had a lot of aspiration for you. Did that sort of rub off also?
Yeah, I think I wouldn't say aspirations. They had this desire that our children should also flourish. Because now India is independent. See, my father would go selling nails to Britishers during war. Nails. Because he was a big guy. So he used to make nails. Hammer it and make a nail out of it.
Oh, he made nails.
He made nails.
Okay.
He did all kinds of interesting things. And small time.
Yeah.
And whenever he went to this Englishman with a basket full of nails, he couldn't speak English.
Yeah.
He couldn't talk. He felt inside humiliated.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he felt that I would like my children to be in better position.
Yeah.
Like every Indian parent.
Yeah.
I believe Indian parents are unique in this world.
Yeah.
Where they will do anything for their children's education. No other parents in the world today, according to me, will pay for their children's 100% tuition, 100% boarding school. Indian parents will never say that go get a job, I won't pay your school fee. There is no such thing. So that gave us responsibility. Responsibility is something you take, nobody gives you. So I think upbringing was very Gandhian, very simple. It was a simple world then. The world was not that complex. Okay. I mean, we played with dirt, we played with gilli-danda, we played with stones. That's what we did. That's how we grew up. In addition, where we lived, right in front of our house was a Muslim house. We were 8 brothers and sisters, 5 sisters, 3 brothers. They had 5 brothers and 3 sisters. Next to it was a Jain family, Marwari. On the other side was a Sardar family. And in the back was Oriya tribal family. We all lived together.
Where in Orissa?
Titilagarh.
Okay.
Very small place. Now it is.
I was born and brought up in Rourkela.
Oh yeah, sure. I know Rourkela very well.
We also had this. I mean, Rourkela again. It's
exactly.
All kinds of people from all over the country come. So we have Punjabis and Sindhis
and no one ever thought that you are different. It was part of the family.
Yeah.
So in that kind of an environment, we learn things through osmosis.
Yeah.
And to your original question, how did...
There have to be some events that would have propelled your thinking to doing this or that and doing more.
I don't know.
Or probably it's just that you left home and...
I think leaving home was the biggest...
made you this independent
courage
thinker.
of my parents.
Yes.
To send us 1,000 miles away at the age of 10 changed my life. Okay, that's the contribution they made. Saying, go my boy, figure it out. We trust you, we love you, and we are always there for you. I mean, I can tell you stories which will surprise you. My father did not know what I studied. Okay. So when he came to America in 70s for the first time, one day he asked me, he said, "What did you really study?" In Gujarati. So I said, "Dad, I studied physics." So he said, "What is physics?"
Huh.
And I knew that this is the power. Okay, that he'd never bothered.
Yeah.
You know, what are you studying? What is your grade? You know, did you pass, fail? Do whatever you are doing, but do it well, Baba. That's it. Okay.
Yeah.
That trust was overpowering.
Yeah. Trust gives a lot of responsibility.
Absolutely. And then, you know, I liked physics and math. So I went to engineering school. So you learn carpentry, you know, blacksmith work, machine drawings, architecture in school. And then when I came to college, I realized rather than going to engineering school, I should go to physics. And then physics was everything. So I studied physics, got a BS in physics, then got a master's in physics. I had gone to school at the age of 3. So I finished my BS when I was 18 or so, and then studied. And then one fine morning, read in the newspaper that Kennedy has decided to take man onto the moon.
Ooh.
You are stupid. You have no idea of anything.
Yeah.
And I said, I want to do that. So my parents had no idea what is America or what does it mean to go to America. They had no clue. So I told them that I want to go to America. My older brother.
At what age was this?
I was 21.
20s, huh? Early 20s. Yeah.
And, you know, my older brother who dropped out of college after second year to help dad, he was very keen to help. He said, no, you should go. You know, so he sort of gave me moral strength. So I got an admission, and then I took a boat. I took a boat from Mumbai to Karachi, Karachi to Aden, Aden to...
And this is all alone, you're not...
All alone. I didn't know a soul. Okay? I mean, you got to be totally idiot. Okay?
Crazy, huh?
Yeah. And if I think
that's
of
where
it,
the hair comes from.
if I think of it today, you will have a heart attack. That, could you do these things?
Yeah.
But you are young.
Yeah.
You know, ignorance is a great asset in
What
life.
an adventure.
So I, you know, go to Egypt, see Egypt pyramid, then come to Naples, go to Pompeii, and then boat ends in Genova. Take a train from Genova to London, take a plane from London to New York, and take a bus from New York to Chicago. I had a girlfriend, little girl when we were in school. Both of us were 10-year-old, Vinodini Patel. She married and she lived in London, so I called Vinodini. And I said, Vinodini, I'm coming to London. I called, you know, by letter. There was no phone call. And I want to stay with you. So Vinodini was very nice. I stayed with her for 3-4 days in London. And then our flight from London to New York, because of snowstorm, winded up in Montreal. I had never seen television in my life, but I knew how to design one as an electronic student. I had never used a telephone because I never had a telephone at home. And if somebody had a telephone, he was too rich to be your friend.
Yeah.
In those days, phones were a big luxury. So when we landed up in Montreal, Air India, TWA, gave us a hotel coupon. So we were all staying at Sheraton Hotel, 5-star hotel, never seen one. Okay. We go to this hotel, and the most interesting thing for me was a doorknob.
What is that?
Doorknob. I've never seen a doorknob.
Oh my God.
I mean, I had seen a latch. I said, what a great invention is this? You know, you do this, it goes in, you do this, it comes out. And I was so fascinated with doorknob at the hotel. So I locked myself out. So I would go downstairs and I said, look, you know, I locked myself out. and I saw television for the first time. So I'm changing this vertical, horizontal, counting all the dots, go in the back, open the whole thing, see how it is wired up and all. It's like a little monkey getting a toy.
Totally, yeah.
So then the guy says, okay, go take this coupon, you can have dinner at a restaurant. So I had a Brahmin friend of mine with me, Bhupen Trivedi. He's still with me. Great friend, childhood friend. So Bhupen and I go to the restaurant. The menu is in French. We can hardly read English. Now this French menu, we don't know what this food is. We had never heard of, any of these things. So, being little wise, I asked this guy, I said, what is your specialty? So the guy says, steak. I said, I'll have one. So then he says, how do you want? I didn't know what it means.
Cook it.
So I said, what do you mean? He said, how do you want? I just couldn't understand the question. So he said, you want well done, medium, rare? I'd never heard of it. But I understood word rare. So I said, rare. So I get this steak with blood. And my Brahmin friend says, you idiot. He said, do you know what you're eating? I said, no. He said, this is cow's meat. And the blood is real blood and not ketchup. That's how I got introduced to steak. So the story is that it was adventure. Totally. Everything was an adventure.
Yeah. Can I interrupt? Shall I move this a bit?
Yeah.
Because because the camera will take the light and not the shadow and stuff.
Let the man do it.
No, this way probably.
No, you have to go this way.
Oh, that way. It's okay. Good.
This way.
Okay.
Right.
It might work, it may not work, I don't know.
But still this way, little this way.
Yeah, sure.
Valli can take a look.
That's good enough.
Want some good?
Good, no?
Yeah.
Audio is fine?
No, audio is fine. Yes, I think you will come here. You'll still be in the light.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's
Okay? Well, is okay?
your book Redesigning the World.
Yeah.
You talk about a new world of hyper-connectivity. You're talking about a new world order. What systems are you looking at that are going to crumble, and what systems do you see emerging?
I think the whole world is going through a major crisis. We are all going through a serious global crisis that we don't recognize. See, earlier world order was based on white supremacy, directly, indirectly. Okay, you can't ignore it. World was colonized. So in 1940s, during World War, American intellectuals decided that they are going to design the world. So 4 or 5 people got together, really, literally, and we know who those people were, including the foreign secretary at that time. Can't remember his name, but he's in my book. They felt that world should be designed to promote democracy, human rights, capitalism, consumption, and military. Then world was bipolar. You had Soviet Union, you had US. Either you could be with US or you could be Soviet Union, but you couldn't be with both. That design gave birth to UN. UN had to be in New York because then they can control it. That design gave birth to World Bank. World Bank had to be in Washington, D.C. Head of World Bank has to be American all the time. It's in the Constitution. Okay. That nobody except American can be the head of World Bank. Okay. Then IMF was set up. In the Constitution, it says IMF head has to be a European. Because at that time India did not matter. We were still a colony. And China didn't matter, and Africa nobody cared about. So a bunch of 5 little countries, including US, decided to design the world. And everybody accepted that. Because Europe had to be rebuilt, Japan had to be rebuilt. So it was a good idea. That design gave peace, growth, and lots of things happen in the world. But in the process, design did not take into consideration decolonization of the world. So Gandhi led decolonization, created a ripple effect, and every country became free. First India, and then boom, boom, boom. It started in Middle East and Africa and Philippines and everywhere. All of a sudden, in a short span of 20 years, 25 years, world became free. Now all of these people changed their aspirations. Earlier they were kept as slaves. So their aspirations were capped. Now all of a sudden, large part of humanity is saying, hey, wait a minute, I also want the same thing. Okay? I mean, if that guy has, ability to fly, I want to have ability to fly. If he wants to go to Harvard, I also want to go to Harvard. Okay? The original design did not take that into consideration. So dollar had to be strong. Dollar had to control everything. Unfortunately, 75 years have gone by and we have not created one new global institution in 75 years. But technology has changed. Today, having spent 60 years in telecom and IT, I see a revolution. Transistor was born after I was born. Yeah? Intel was formed when I was sitting there with all the founders in 60s and 70s. I had a plant in 74 on El Camino Real. It was jungle. Yeah. Look what has happened. Transistor, integrated circuits, laptops, computers, software, smartphones, internet, and now AI. All of these things had impact on education, health, jobs, governance, and all of a sudden you have created 4th pillar of democracy, information. See, earlier you had legislation, executive branch, and judiciary. Now, information is the powerful pillar of democracy nobody talks about. So, world needs to be redesigned because the design is obsolete.
You also talked about global institutions and you talked about global governance. Now, power has a tendency to converge on itself, and it's like in physics. The more mass you have, the more it warps and twists and curves the space-time. So power does the same thing. When you talk about global governance, what do you mean? What do you look at it like?
First of all, the governance model today is based on command and control.
Oh, you talk about global constitution as well.
Yeah,
what is?
Very simple. Very simple. First of all, I'm not right 100%.
Because it's frightening. I'm like,
No,
we can't manage. We can't manage a country's government.
No, it's very complicated in that sense. Okay. See, the model today is that of command and control. Because at that time we didn't have communication tools to collaborate, cooperate, co-create.
Yeah.
So hyperconnectivity gives you ability to collaborate, cooperate, co-create. So when you say global governance does not necessarily mean command and control. But we automatically assume, oh my God.
That's what we've seen before. Yeah. So what does it look like?
You are creating another platform to collaborate. So first you need to change the existing governance model, which is predominantly based on decentralization, collaboration, cooperation, co-creation, and then create global constitution, global government. What is global constitution? I will respect other human beings.
When you say I, meaning as an individual or as a country or as what?
As a citizen.
As a citizen.
As a global citizen. I would respect women. I would not kill anybody. I will focus on inclusion. I will respect diversity. I'll respect diversity of religion, race. These are all fundamental issues. And that's what we are fighting today. What are we fighting in India? Hindutva. What are we fighting in America? Black Lives Matter. Okay. So you got to get off this old design. The old design is based on helping people with privileges. It further divides communities. Look at the way wealth has been concentrated. That's not good for people. I'm not talking about being socialist. Don't get me wrong. People immediately put labels because that's all they understand. Those labels do not make sense anymore. I could be a socialist and I could be capitalist. I could be both. Okay, don't tell me I can't be both. Okay. So you got to get off this old mindset which says democracy, dictatorship. You got to move from that to fundamental values. Truth is a value. Trust is a value. Love is value. Okay. Now, can we put all that in Constitution? That is what global Constitution is about. So there is a broader framework, and then underneath you can have your own little local nuances, which is fine. Okay. But as a global community, we must accept that environment we cannot divide. Air we cannot divide. Ocean we cannot divide. Okay. There are certain things that affect everybody. The book is mainly about the fact that today everyone is focused on power and profit. All global leaders, all business leaders, you ask a little kid, who do you want to be? He will never say Gandhi. He will never say Mandela. He will never say Martin Luther King. He will say Elon Musk, Bill Gates. We have a wrong idea of what you want in life. Okay? But what do? That's what you teach in MBA schools. You teach how to extract value. You don't teach how to create value. But when people like me talk, we are idiots. You know? Because we did make money. Guy would say, are you a billionaire? No. Then you can't be smart. Because that's the way people think.
Going forward, you also talked about, you said we have an economy of surplus. We think like we are living in a economy of scarcity.
Yeah.
So do you think we are at a position where competition for resources becomes sort of obsolete? Competition for resources, planet's resources, but not like skill or knowledge or anything, but planet's resources, it's getting obsolete, and we are entering into a sort of...
We can produce enough food to feed 10 billion people. Okay. Guaranteed, with probably less land because of technology, tools, all that. So when I say that we live in an age of surplus, is that we can produce anything, but we wind up producing wrong things because we wind up producing things for people who can afford to buy and not for people who need it. So you Louis Vuitton. So the fashion industry is one company, $900 billion value. What do they produce? $500,000 watch. We do not produce for people who need it. We produce for people who can afford to buy it. I'll give you one example. I had a friend who, after many years, was going to India, and his father lived in village. So he said, what do I buy for my father? So he buys a nice gift for him and goes to his dad, saying, Dad, I've come here after 10, 15 years. I have a wonderful gift for you. Here is a nice white cotton shirt. You know what his dad said? He said, my son, I have 3 shirts. I wear one. One is in washing, that your mom will wash, and one is spare. Why do I need 4 shirts? He said. He said, give it to your uncle. Your uncle has only 2 shirts. I mean, the message is that there is limit to consumption. I have 700 ties. Okay. Why? Because every time I go to speak somewhere, they give you tie as a gift. Okay. For 50 years, I have collected my ties. Okay. What do I do with it? That consumption is not the answer. Conservation is the answer. But we don't teach people to conserve. We teach people to consume.
Do you think the economy should be designed or move towards an economy of conservation rather than
Absolutely. Absolutely.
where does it
Economy
begin?
has to be decentralized. Economy has to be localized. Gandhian model. Economy has to focus on conservation and not consumption. Economy has to be focused on creating jobs, meaningful jobs. Economy has to take into consideration art and culture, which it doesn't do anyway today. So there are lots of issues. I'm not saying I have the answers. All I'm saying is we need new conversation.
So what do you do with the 700 ties?
I'm going to, make a collage now. I'm going to
Art. You have paintings on your website.
I paint.
They are beautiful.
I paint. I've been painting for 50 years.
Yeah.
But nobody knows. It's in my basement. I have about 500 paintings in my basement.
They are beautiful. What do you want to communicate through your paintings? Is there something?
Nothing. I have no idea. I just paint because I like to paint. I have no, some.
You're not
inspiration
bringing
or
out
anything.
any.
I have no idea. Let somebody else has to
Okay.
figure it out.
Artificial intelligence, but there is a lot of excitement and fear around the advent of AI. So what are your thoughts on it? And let's stick to tech now, but you can go on and explain what do you see, how is it going to impact Indian social and economic landscape?
You mean technology or AI?
AI.
AI is blown out of proportion.
Ah.
Okay. It's like everything else, like Bitcoin was blown out of proportion. So it's another fad, which is good.
That is a calming thought because people have been fear-mongering about it a lot.
Yeah, but those who are promoting,
Currently.
there is a whole machine set up in Western world where you take an idea and everybody promotes and everybody talks about it, and universities talk about it and all that, and then it goes kaput.
Fizzles out.
Okay. So, of course, AI is important. What is AI basically? Is deriving intelligence out of information. What is ChatGPT? It takes a lot of information and gives me some knowledge. Google's regular search gives me information, doesn't give me knowledge. Okay, so you just say Pitroda, there'll be 500 articles. But you say, give me only 2 paragraphs on Pitroda. ChatGPT will do that. That's the difference. Now you can take that idea and apply it to many, many different fields. Apply in education, health, governance, finance, accounting, management, you name it. Saying, give me 3 best articles on leadership. Then you don't have to search 3 articles. Okay? If you don't like these 3, say, give me some more 3. Okay. So it basically carves out knowledge for you. That's not going to replace human beings because it doesn't have emotions. It doesn't have that kind of creativity. Okay. People are people.
But does it have the potential to develop in the future?
So fine, it will
A
develop.
self-learning.
So you can learn, no problem. But that's not going to replace me because I can eat. ChatGPT can't eat. ChatGPT can't swim.
But it can replace livelihoods, can't it?
No. It will make your life little simpler. So you won't have to work 40 hours. Maybe you'll have to work 20 hours. So I see a world where to live comfortably, you won't have to work 40 hours a week. You'll work 10 hours a week and still live comfortably. That's the beauty of technology. Okay. My grandparents and your grandparents had to work harder than you and I have to work to eat properly. Okay. Our children and their children will probably work 10 hours a week and eat And that is the beauty of technology. It is really basically increasing your comfort.
And giving more choice.
So AI will increase your comfort.
So in India, you don't think any drastic change is going to happen in the social scenario or the economic scenario?
No, I wouldn't say that, because they will use AI for propagating lies. See, today, I can't make Gandhiji speak 4-letter word. They'll make it. And they'll say it is real. They'll say, oh, Gandhiji spoke about this in 1923 in some stupid conference who nobody knows. Okay? So that is going to be a big problem.
Have already started doing it in the last 3-4 days. When the parliament got inaugurated, that particular day, the wrestlers were protesting. And there was one picture that in a few hours, it started circulating where it showed the wrestlers were being detained and they were in a bus and they were smiling and laughing, and it was so convincing to you don't even have to have a gullible mind to get convinced about that picture.
AI is basically misinformation becoming real. See, today you don't have that technology. Tomorrow you'll have a technology where Sam Pitroda will speak something which I have never spoken. And it'll look real. And my children would say, my God, my dad said this. You know?
So what is the antidote to it? What is it? More regulation? Is it?
It's not just regulation.
Is it because it is going to be as good or bad as the people using it?
It's like knife.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. You can use it to cut potato, and you can use it to kill somebody.
Yeah.
Okay. So you take your pick.
But it can be used at scale.
That's right. So you have to, according to me, you see, the basic problem is our business model that we have created for social media. Social media business model says you don't have to identify yourself. You can hide. So you can have unauthenticated behavior. Okay. If social media says you must identify yourself with your ID card, voting card, whatever, and there could be only one Sam Pitroda, okay, and whatever he says, he's responsible for it. Now there are 8 Sam Pitrodas on Facebook. I don't even know who these people are. Okay? And I get many times call, did you say that? I have no idea. I don't know.
Is that because technology has come up really fast and regulation has not kept up?
Only because those who build this technology are greedy. Because they get their valuation based on number of,
clicks and views, and
that's it. That's simple. It's not rocket science. Okay, everybody knows that, but nobody wants to talk about it.
But it borders around criminal, and then there is no regulation. There is regulation.
With AI is you have to create a stamp which says this is AI and this is not AI produced. And if you circulate information which is AI produced without a stamp, you go to jail. Fix it, huh? Very simple solution. Who will do it?
Who will bell the cat?
Huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Textbooks in India are being changed. Are you worried about an entire generation? Textbooks.
Oh yeah, of course I'm worried. Of course I'm worried. I love our history. I love our past. I'm okay with, British came in, and I'm okay with Mughals came in, and it's okay. It happened. I can't change that. Take it and move on. I don't like to look at past too much. I got to look at future, because my eyes are in front and not in the back. So whatever happened, happened.
Not just the past, but the textbooks are changing in a way that is again bordering on irrational thought.
Yeah, but absolutely.
And
look, if you say there is no Darwin theory,
you
got a problem. Okay, but look at the way the images were propagated on inaugurating parliament. I mean, you have 50 sadhus in front of Prime Minister, which is fine. I have no problem. But I would rather see doctors, engineers, lawyers, artists, poets, okay, from different religion, then that is the India I'm used to. Okay. But then they'll say, oh, you are against the religion. Okay, fine. If that's your view, I accept that. I have no problem.
Why we are a country of 1.4 plus billion people, why do we not innovate as much as other parts of the world?
Innovation also requires ecosystems. First, it requires risk capital, which we don't have. Our capital wants return tomorrow, secured 12% or whatever. Nobody wants to put capital at risk. If you don't put capital at risk, you don't innovate. That's one. Second, you don't have the ecosystem. You need that ecosystem to see a problem and solve it. You don't have that ecosystem and you don't see problem the same way. You have problems to solve, but you don't want to solve those problems because those are the problems of the poor. Designing a big game is not problem of the poor. It's a problem of the rich. So they solve it. For last 30 years, I've been saying, best brains in the world are busy solving problems of the rich, who really don't have problems to solve. As a result, problems of the poor don't get the kind of talent you need.
Is it because they have the buying capacity, the buying power?
Absolutely.
And money
Absolutely.
tends to circulate where it gets concentrated.
Sure. Very true.
The current discourse of hate and divisiveness in India, do you think the coming generations or the current generation will be able to recover from it? And if so, how can we enable the recovery?
It's not just an Indian problem. I think it's a problem world over. You have a problem of hate here also. You have a problem of hate in Europe also. Okay. So I think world over, something has happened to our values.
But here, I feel that we are coming out of it, albeit slowly. There, I feel we are getting into it more at this point.
True. Partly
Right.
because education here is much better than there, and community there sort of is much more segregated than here. Muslims live in one corner, Hindus live in another corner in many places, so it's a very complex problem. But I think world over, we have lost fundamental values. See, I tell many times that I was given the world by my grandparents, which was simple, clean, and poor. I am leaving my grandchildren a world that is complex, rich, but polluted.
A bit on politics. If the Congress comes to power 2024, with or without allies, what should it do to make democracy stronger in the country?
First, that Congress party has to decide. But as an individual, I can tell you that the first priority should be to bring your constitution back in focus. Understand your constitution, value your constitution, and remind people that we are all here to follow this constitution. As a next step, we got to protect our democracy, celebrate our diversity, respect our women. We have to improve our environment, education, health, and make sure that our minorities are protected. See, as a person from majority, is my moral responsibility to protect minority. It is like in my family, if there is somebody who is handicapped, has to get a special treatment. Now a guy who is well off can't say, hey, you are favoring that guy. Of course you are favoring that guy. That's my job to favor him. Okay. Here, if you do that, oh, you are favoring Muslim. But that's not the point. Okay. The point is very different. That is my job to favor them. Now, how do you explain this to people? It's not rocket science. It has to come from your heart. Okay. For that, you don't need a law. For that, you don't need, I have 5 sisters. I know how to, I don't need a lesson in it or a theory or a book. Okay. I mean, how could you treat women the way we treat in India? Okay. And still get away with it. And these are leaders. I mean, look at this country, what Clinton did, what Trump did. How could you do that until you be a president of a country? Now you can say, oh, it's personal life, what is it? Fine. Okay.
But as a leader, character matters, and that some people completely...
Just the idea itself.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a little girl working with you, and you treat her like that. I mean, how can you be a father of a nation? Okay? And it's okay with the society. It's okay. People think it is perfectly all right. Okay? And everybody ignores it. And my blood boils. And then they, you're crazy.
Coming back to democracy, what about the institutions that have been... Do you have time? Just a couple more questions. What about the institutions that have been compromised in the past 9-10 years? Do you think Congress should take some initiative?
3 things bother me based on what I have seen in the last 9 years. One, undermining of institutions, whether it is judiciary, election commission, ED, income tax, police, prison, or even universities. All these institutions are undermined to a point that they have lost their autonomy, which is a major concern. And people have been put in place of power to take orders from the top, and they have lost their independence. Okay? Second, civil society has been completely destroyed. All NGOs. Yeah. You are being investigated for foreign exchange violation. You are being investigated for some laundering money or some dumb stuff. Okay. And all those dedicated people who have spent 40-50 years serving people in villages and on education and health and all that are being harassed. Third, you have lost scientific mindset. You cannot have a rational, logical, respectful conversation with anybody. As soon as you say something, but in 1942, that fellow did this. I don't even know. Okay, what 1942 did, and I don't care.
It's quite bizarre, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. But they think
conversations, yeah.
So you look at generation of Indian kids who are watching TV for last several years. When that generation comes to power, what will happen to the nation?
Their sense of normal will be very different.
Exactly. But nobody talks like this. Okay. We can talk for 10 hours. Okay. So much to convey, but who is it there to listen?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to listen. Everybody wants to broadcast. Everybody has advice.
Now even more so because they have platforms.
If I showed you my phone,
okay,
every day I get 500 emails a day, every day. Okay. And they always have some advice for Rahul Gandhi, for Sonia Gandhi, for me. You should do this, you should do that. And the question is, what have you done in your life? Nothing. But they think they're capable of advising everybody. But that's the world we live in. If you have to love them, what can you do?
I was watching some of the interviews in preparation for this one, and I heard you sort of interchange Rajiv's name with Rahul and Rahul's name with Rajiv.
That's my problem.
Not once, but many times.
It's in front of him. I've done it many times by mistake. Because I worked with his dad for 10 years.
Can you talk about him a little?
Oh yeah, he was a great. You see, My life changed because I met him. He changed my life in a very different way. He gave meaning to my life. I was an engineer. I'd made some money. I was comfortable. I could have made a lot more money. I could have been multi-billionaire in Silicon Valley if I wanted to be, but it never occurred to me. He gave meaning to my life that you can do something very different. If I had not met him, I would have been an engineer running a business or flunking in a business or whatever. But I wouldn't get a chance to change the face of India. When we started our work in Telecom, India had 2 million phones. It used to take 10 years to get a telephone connection. This generation cannot even understand that. In short span of 40 years, we have 1.4 billion phones and we produce $200 billion worth of software export every year, year after year. We make our own vaccine. We are the largest producer of vaccine. We eradicated polio. We went from 12% literacy after independence to 75% literacy. Life expectancy. When I was a kid, 54 years was an average life expectancy. I'm 81 and still I feel like 30. I could get my master's in physics for $10 in India. $10 was my total fee. When can you do all this? Who will give you this? That's what India has given.
Do you think you've listed out so many achievements, but we didn't talk much enough. We didn't talk enough about it.
Nobody listens. We talk. Okay, we talk. I mean, what does it take? Somebody has to ask a question. How did we get into telecom? How did we become IT powerhouse? Why all of the Indian executives in America, or many of them, are Indian? How did it happen, right? Okay. Somebody must have done something. Okay. Because a lot of these people went to schools.
But it's not a coincidence that so many CEOs are Indians.
Yes, because they got education at very low cost and they bring with them diversity.
And education in the 90s, 80s, 90s.
But their diversity experience is so valuable that people don't understand. They can deal with any complex situation, because India is full of complexity. Okay, if you survive there, you can survive everywhere.
No, it comes to communication. Here's an uncomfortable question.
Also tolerance. It is not communication only, it is also tolerance. Okay, there may be some guys, shitting there, some guy eating there, some guy sneezing there, everything goes. You have to have that tolerance. Okay? And only India can teach you certain lessons. No other country in the world can do that.
Now, with regard to communication, I had an sort of uncomfortable question, but I mean, you brought in the telecom revolution, and then you spread out the internet all across the country. Come 2012, 2013, 2014, the same technology, the BJP and RSS machinery, they took the same technology and rode it to power forget the moral aspect of it, the lies and everything, keep that aside, but the way they use that technology to communicate to the Indian people, that nothing has been done. So the question is not how we let it slide at that point, but
no, I don't think we let it slide.
Now,
no, we didn't let it slide. It's wrong.
But
we didn't lie.
We didn't lie, but we couldn't defend or we couldn't package.
No, it's not the question of packaging. It was simple lies after lies after lies. And we had series of meetings at Congress Party. And I was one of those guys who said, look, we will not lie. Gandhiji's party will not lie. It is better to lose but not lie.
But Sam, the misinformation that goes out into an unsuspecting, gullible population is like pumping in poison into that.
What can I do?
But there has to be some antidote. That I'm not saying we have all the answers or we should.
The Prime Minister of the country goes in front of a camera and says, India did nothing for 70 years. Okay, when I know what India did for 70 years. Okay. And everybody listens. And nobody says, hey, wait a minute. Stop it. You can't say this. Who the hell are you to say this? You're insulting the whole population. Nobody has guts to say that. So people believe nothing got done for 70 years. I can shout from the roof about Telecom. He has vested interest on Telecom anyway. Who the hell is he? You know?
Going back to AI and going back to the same image of the wrestlers in the bus, in the run-up to the 2024 elections, I see that as a precursor to how they are going to communicate and how they're going to use. And people again will not question. Some may, but many may not.
Possibly.
And that may...
Possibly.
Are there any...
No,
I won't say, are there any plans?
I think there is
There's
a fatigue setup.
I hope so.
Okay, there is fatigue. And there is also realization that media is biased. I think Yatra has helped a lot. The fact that he could stand all that criticism itself is an accomplishment. Anybody else would have just gone mad and broken completely. Okay. The fact that he could keep his sanity, where 2 billion eyes are watching him every day. People will say, why did he scratch here? He should have scratched there. I mean, people make those kinds of comments.
With the
Saying,
intention to break him.
This? That is normal human being. He can also, scratch wherever he wants to scratch. Give him some chance. But they won't do it. And there will be discussion on TV on his scratch in public, and there will be 5 experts sitting there and evaluating why did he scratch. It's crazy people. And it's a serious conversation for them. Okay? I mean, look, we went to London, he and I, and we had this meeting in London, okay, where he said whatever he had to say. For 4 days, on national TV for 4 days, what Rahul said in London. The entire country was completely full of this news.
But it's not organic.
He's insulted India. Nobody can insult you if you don't want to be insulted.
But that is not organic. That is a designed, structured plan, right?
Of course, nothing is organic.
Yeah.
Of course. He's a smart guy, young guy, good guy. I would say that anyway, so that's a different issue. But he's an honest guy. He's a sincere guy. His heart is in right place. Okay? And you have ridiculed him. You have spent millions and millions in defaming him. And people are beginning to see that. And ultimately people have to vote. Ultimately people have to decide the destiny of India.